There is a specific type of exhaustion that, well, it just doesn't show up on a medical chart.
Right. Yeah.
It really doesn't. Like, it doesn't come from running ultra marathons, and it doesn't necessarily come from, working back-to-back 80-hour weeks.
Mm.
It comes from the sheer, crushing, energetic cost of pretending you are entirely okay when you are secretly falling apart.
Absolutely. The masking.
Exactly. And so today, we're doing something a little different. We are exploring a viral piece of prose that tackles this exact phenomenon.
It's incredibly powerful.
It really is. It's the short, anonymous text simply titled, My Child, and it reads as a direct letter from the universe, or, a higher power, to someone who has just hit the absolute bedrock of their emotional reserves.
And this piece has resonated with millions of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our mission for today's deep dive is to figure out why. We aren't looking at this as some theological document to be debated.
Right. No theology debates today.
Yeah. We're looking at it as an artifact of profound psychological intervention because, honestly, it operates as a masterclass in downregulating an overwhelmed human nervous system.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the sheer empathy radiating from this text is, it's startling.
Yeah.
But I want to know the mechanics of why it works.
Yeah.
We're going to explore the life cycle of burnout that this letter maps out.
Right. From the intense masking we do in public.
Yes,
Yeah.
to the isolation, the crisis of faith, the mechanics of surrender, and finally, the cognitive reframing.
It's a whole journey.
It really is. So if you are listening to this right now, I want you to mentally put down whatever you are carrying for the next hour. Just step into this deep dive as a space of rest and reflection.
That's a great invitation.
We are going to act as analysts of this comfort. We want to dissect exactly why these specific, poetic reassurances are so effective at untying the knots in our psyche.
So let's start with the opening lines, which immediately establish the anatomy of this hidden battleground.
Yeah, read that first part for us.
Sure. So the text begins with a statement of profound validation. It says, My child, I know you are tired. I know there are moments when you smile in front of everyone, but deep inside your heart, you are fighting battles no one knows about.
Oh, wow.
Right. And notice what is absolutely absent here.
There's no advice.
Exactly. There is no advice. There is no strategic, 5-point plan to optimize your morning routine or whatever.
Yeah, right.
The intervention literally begins with the simple phrase, I know you are tired.
Which is, it completely bypasses the prefrontal cortex, right? That desperate need to problem solve.
Yeah, it speaks directly to the amygdala.
It doesn't command the reader to stand up straight or try harder.
What's fascinating here is the immediate recognition of what clinical psychologists refer to as the cognitive load of masking.
Mm-hmm. The smiling in front of everyone.
Right. The text explicitly calls out the gap between the public presentation, the smile, and the private reality.
Yeah.
When an individual is internalizing a crisis but projecting wellness, they're essentially running two entirely separate operating systems in their brain simultaneously.
Oh, I love that analogy. Two operating systems.
And the energetic cost of that is astronomical.
It's like a computer, where the fans are just whirring at maximum speed. The battery is draining by the minute, but if you look at the screen, there's just a single static image of a desktop.
Right. Nothing seems to be happening.
You think the computer is doing nothing. But in the background, 80 hidden applications are eating up all the RAM.
Yes.
And society, our jobs, our social circles, they constantly demand that static, pleasant desktop image. Like, you have to be the actor hitting all your marks on the theater stage under the bright lights while entirely ignoring the exhaustion happening behind the heavy curtain.
Mm-hmm. And this hidden processing drain leads directly to a concept known as allostatic load.
Allostatic load. Okay, explain that.
So this is the cumulative wear and tear on biological systems resulting from chronic stress. When you are fighting battles no one knows about, as the text says, your body is constantly flooded with cortisol and adrenaline.
You're just marinating in stress hormones.
Exactly. You are in a perpetual state of fight or flight. But because you are, smiling in a boardroom or sitting at a family dinner, you have no physical outlet for that chemical surge.
You can't just sprint away from the dinner table.
Right. You can't. So the text recognizes the immense physical toll of this invisible dissonance.
And it recognizes the specific, desperate activities happening behind that facade, too.
Yeah, it does.
Like the text continues, saying, you have prayed, you have waited, you have cried in silence.
That sequence is incredibly telling.
It really is. I mean, praying is an act of reaching out, right? It's an attempt to exert agency.
Mm-hmm.
And then waiting is a sustained, often draining endurance, like a passive, simmering anxiety.
Right.
But cried in silence, that is the breaking point.
Yeah, cried in silence represents the moment the internal pressure of that allostatic load becomes just too great.
The dam breaks.
Exactly.
Right.
But the external environment is still deemed unsafe for a genuine display of vulnerability.
Wow.
Physiologically, crying is a regulatory mechanism. Emotional peers actually contain higher levels of stress hormones, like cortisol and prolactin, than basal tears.
Wait, really? You literally cry out the stress
It
hormone?
literally do. The body is literally trying to excrete the stress.
That is
But
wild.
to do it in silence, that requires suppressing the respiratory system's natural urge to heave and vocalize.
Oh, man.
It is a violent suppression of the body's own release valve.
It's the crying in the shower so the water drowns out the sound.
Yes, exactly.
Or crying in the parked car before you walk into the grocery store, checking the rear view mirror to make sure your eyes aren't too red.
We've all been there.
Yeah. I really want you, the listener, to reflect on your own behind-the-curtain moments right now. Like, why is it that the battles we fight alone are always the heaviest?
Because there's no distributed load. You carry it all.
Right. And the text follows this up by identifying the absolute bottom of this burnout cycle. It says, I know the prayers you are too tired to pray.
That phrase is devastating. It pinpoints the shift from sympathetic nervous system arousal.
Which is the anxiety, the fighting, the crying.
It shifts from that into parasympathetic collapse.
The freeze response.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
freeze, the apathy. When we think of tiredness, we usually think of metabolic depletion, like needing calories or needing sleep.
Sure.
But this text is identifying a state of extreme psychological depletion.
Mm-hmm.
It's the point where even the cognitive act of formulating hope or conceptualizing a request for help requires more energy than the organism possesses.
You're just empty. You're completely empty.
Completely.
And this extreme isolation naturally leads to the ultimate question of abandonment, doesn't it?
It does.
Which seamlessly guides the discussion into the text's paddle question. It says, and sometimes you have wondered, God, where are you?
Yeah. It is the moment the silence of the hidden battle becomes completely deafening. In narrative psychology, this is the crisis of meaning. The human brain is a meaning-making machine.
Right. Always trying to connect the dots.
Always. And we can endure immense suffering if we can attach all why to it.
Right.
But when the suffering is hidden, when it's prolonged and seemingly random, the brain's ability to construct meaning just collapses.
Yeah.
Asking, where are you, is less about literal geography and more a desperate plea for a narrative framework.
It's asking, does this pain mean anything, or is it just a chaotic void?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is this all for nothing?
Which brings us to the text's central turning point, because the reader's desperate doubt is met with this absolute reassurance of presence. The text answers, today I want you to know something. I have never left you. When you thought you were walking alone, I was walking beside you. When you cried in the darkness, I saw every tear. When you felt like giving up, I was the strength that kept you going.
This is a textbook application of what we call retrospective reappraisal.
Retrospective reappraisal.
Right. The text is not changing the facts of the past. The crying in the dark still happened.
The feeling of giving up definitely still happened.
Right. But it is overlaying a completely new cognitive lens onto those memories.
Okay.
It's asking the reader to reauthor their experience of trauma. Instead of viewing those moments as evidence of absolute abandonment, it suggests those were the exact moments where unseen support was most active.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate for the listener here.
Go for it.
Because it's a beautiful thought, obviously. But let's be real. If that unseen strength was there all along, why did it still feel like giving up?
Right.
Like, how do we reconcile the feeling of absolute crushing isolation with this promise of invisible presence? If the support was there, shouldn't the person have felt, supported?
That tension right there is the core of the human condition.
Yeah.
We mistakenly equate support with the elimination of discomfort.
Oh, that's interesting.
We assume that if a protective force is present, it should act as an anesthetic. It should stop the pain.
Like a magical shield.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But let's look at the specific, highly nuanced definition of strength the text is actually offering here.
Okay.
It says, when you felt like giving up, I was the strength that kept you going. It defines strength as the bare minimum endurance required to simply not cease to exist.
Wow. So it's not a triumphant cinematic surge of energy.
Not at all.
It's the gritty, microscopic continuation of a pulse.
Precisely. It is the fact that you felt like giving up, but your physical body took one more breath anyway. It's like the scaffolding holding up a condemned building.
Oh, I like that.
The scaffolding doesn't stop the wind from howling through the broken windows.
Right.
It doesn't fix the peeling paint or make the building beautiful. Its only job is to prevent total structural collapse.
Just keeping the walls standing.
Right. This text argues that the continuation of existence, however threadbare and painful, is the empirical evidence of that presence.
That is a profound paradigm shift.
It really changes things.
Because we often look back at our darkest times and feel deeply ashamed of how weak we were, you know? Like how much we cried, how close we came to the edge.
We judge our past survival.
Yes. But this reframing suggests that surviving the edge, even if you did it on your hands and knees, weeping the entire time, is a feat of immense strength.
And realizing this actively changes our relationship to our own resilience.
How so?
Well, it moves the locus of control. It suggests that you don't have to manufacture an infinite supply of grit on your own.
Right.
You are being resourced dynamically in the exact amounts needed to survive the current second.
That's amazing. But, and I know the listener's probably thinking this too, recognizing that invisible scaffolding is deeply comforting when looking backward.
Sure, it's historical comfort.
Right. But we want intellectual engagement with our current waking reality. We've addressed the past pain, but what about the present agony of the things we are still waiting for?
The agonizing present.
Exactly. And the text doesn't just offer historical comfort, it aggressively tackles the current waiting period.
It does.
It says, "My child, the delay is not a denial. Just because you cannot see what I am doing does not mean I am not working."
The psychology of waiting is brutal.
It really is. Why is it so hard for us?
Well, evolutionary psychology tells us that humans are uniquely terrible at processing delays.
Okay.
For our ancient ancestors, a delay in acquiring food or finding shelter literally meant death.
Oh, right.
Our nervous systems evolved to interpret a not yet as a direct threat to our survival.
So it's hardwired panic.
Exactly. So when a modern human is waiting for a medical result or a job offer or, for a relationship to heal, their brain processes that delay not as an inconvenience, but as a predator stalking them.
Here's where it gets really interesting because the text introduces a radical framework to counter this evolutionary panic.
Oh, let's hear it.
It says you will understand why some doors closed, you will understand why certain people had to leave, and you will realize I was protecting you all along. It takes the things we perceive as the greatest threats, closed doors, abandonment delays, and rebrands them as preemptive defense mechanisms.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of cognitive reappraisal, this is perhaps the most difficult mental gymnastic routine a human can perform.
Why is that?
Because we naturally view a no as a reflection of our inadequacy.
Oh, totally. If I were smarter, this door would have opened.
If I were more lovable, this person wouldn't have left.
Right. We internalize the rejection.
Always.
Right.
But the text strips away that internal blame. It posits that the closed door has nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with unseen variables you don't have the capacity to process yet.
It's like, okay, think of a child throwing a tantrum in the kitchen because their parent won't let them play with a shiny, sharp knife.
That's a perfect analogy.
Right. To the child, it's a harsh denial of something beautiful. But to the parent, it's an act of fierce protection. The text asks us to assume we are the child in the universe's kitchen.
And it reminds me of the biological mechanism of an immune system response, too.
Oh, how so?
Well, when a human body encounters a pathogen, the immune system often induces a localized fever.
Right, to burn out the infection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, to the person experiencing it, the fever feels terrible. It's uncomfortable, it's exhausting, it's completely disruptive.
You just want the fever to go away.
Right. You might curse the fever, but the fever is not the disease. The fever is the environment the body creates to burn out a threat you didn't even know was multiplying in your bloodstream.
Wow.
The text is asking us to view closed doors and shattered plans as a kind of cosmic fever.
That is an excellent mechanistic analogy. The discomfort of the closed door is actively burning out a future threat.
Yes.
And the text applies this not just to random events, but to our deepest aspirations, too. It mentions the dreams you stopped talking about.
Ah, yeah. That touches on a psychological concept called ambiguous loss.
Ambiguous loss.
It is the grief of losing something that never actually existed, the imagined future.
Oh, that is so heavy.
When a dream is delayed indefinitely, we mourn the person we thought we were going to become.
Yeah, I want the listener to really think about those dreams you stopped talking about for a second. How does it change the weight of that disappointment if you view it as an incomplete chapter rather than a failed story?
It changes everything.
But trying to hold on to the belief that the fever is protective, that the closed door is a shield, that requires an immense draining amount of cognitive energy.
It absolutely
Like
does.
when you are already dealing with the allostatic load we talked about earlier, radical cognitive reappraisal can feel like being asked to do calculus while drowning.
Exactly. And the author of this text clearly understands this limitation,
Right.
which is why the narrative elegantly shifts here.
Right.
It recognizes that philosophical reframing is a luxury for the energized.
Yes. If you're exhausted, you don't need philosophy.
No, for the weary, it offers mechanics. It moves from what the reader needs to believe into what the reader actually needs to do physically in the present moment.
Yeah. Let's read that part. It says, take a deep breath, release your fear, release your worries. Give me the burden you have been carrying alone. You don't have to figure everything out today.
You don't have to figure everything out today.
The neurological relief embedded in that single sentence is staggering.
It really is.
Because we spend so much of our waking lives engaged in mental time travel, don't we?
Constantly.
We try to solve tomorrow's inflation, next month's potential health crisis, and next year's relationship milestones using today's severely depleted energy reserves.
It is the cognitive equivalent of trying to process a terabyte of data on a machine that has 10 megabytes of free memory left.
It guarantees a system crash.
100%.
Yeah.
The text explicitly grants permission for cognitive offloading. But I really want to draw attention to the first instruction in that sequence.
The breath.
Yes, take a deep breath. It does not start with a mental command. It starts with a somatic one.
That physical grounding is crucial. Because this is easier said than done, right? How does one practically release a worry? Is it a one-time transaction, or is it a burden you have to put down 100 times a day?
It's definitely the latter.
Right. And by instructing a deep breath, the text is literally grounding the spiritual surrender in the physical body. It's triggering the vagus nerve.
Yes, the vagus nerve, the primary highway of the parasympathetic nervous system.
Exactly. When you engage the diaphragm with a deep breath, you send a physiological signal from your gut up through your chest and into the base of your brain, effectively telling the amygdala, we are not currently being chased by a tiger. You can stand down.
It forces the consciousness out of the terrifying hypothetical future and violently pulls it back into the objective reality of the present second.
Because you cannot breathe in the future.
Right. You can only breathe right now.
So, listener, honestly, physically do what the text says in this exact moment. Just take a breath and give yourself permission not to have the whole plot figured out by bedtime.
And once the physical body is anchored in the present, the text offers the strategy of micromovements. It says, just take the next step with faith.
The next step. It is the ultimate antidote to paralysis by analysis. When the macro, like the trajectory of your entire life, is overwhelming, survival demands hyper-focusing on the micro.
You don't have to build the entire staircase.
You don't even have to know what floor the staircase leads to.
Exactly.
You literally just have to lift your foot and place it on the next wooden plank.
This aligns beautifully with Stoic philosophy, specifically the dichotomy of control.
Oh, how so?
So Epictetus taught that suffering arises from trying to control things outside our purview, like the future or the opinions of others.
Right, the things we can't change.
The text echoes this by saying, give me the burden. It is an active transfer of liability.
I love that phrase, transfer of liability.
You are only responsible for the sphere of influence you currently occupy, which is the very next step.
But taking a blind step into the unknown is terrifying.
Of course it is.
If I don't know where the staircase leads, how do I know I'm not stepping off a cliff?
This raises an important question, and it is the exact question the text anticipates.
Okay.
It counters the fear of the unknown with a fascinating concept regarding the geography of time.
The geography of time.
Yeah. It says, I am already in your tomorrow. I will be with you in the places you are afraid to go.
I am already in your tomorrow.
Wow. It shatters the linear progression of time.
It really does.
It portrays a guardian presence that operates outside of chronological constraints, acting as like a forward scout.
Yes, exactly. A forward scout.
Anticipatory anxiety is entirely based on the terror of an empty, unpredictable future. By stating that the future is already occupied, it neutralizes the emptiness.
Think about the places we are afraid to go. The clinic waiting room to get the biopsy results, the empty apartment after a divorce is finalized. The intimidating boardroom where you have to defend your work?
The text promises that the environment has already been secured. The presence isn't just walking with you into the room, it is already sitting in the chair waiting for you to arrive.
Oh, that's such a comforting image. Already sitting in the chair.
And it makes provisions for what happens when you get into that room and your own resources completely fail.
Right, because sometimes they do fail.
The text says, I will give you strength when your strength is gone. I will give you peace when life makes no sense. And when you feel like you cannot go another step, I will carry you.
Look at the progression of that support.
Mm-hmm.
First, it supplements your resources, giving strength. Then, it offers internal regulation, giving peace when external logic fails.
Right.
But the final promise is the most radical. I will carry you.
It doesn't say if you cannot go another step.
Exactly. It acknowledges total collapse as an inevitability of the human journey.
Which is so rare.
It is. Most self-help literature treats total collapse as a moral failure.
You just didn't try hard enough.
Right. If you collapse, it means you didn't manifest hard enough or you didn't optimize your routine. But this text treats collapse as a biological reality, and the response isn't a motivational speech. It is transportation.
I love that. It is transportation.
It strips away the brutal demands of modern self-reliance.
And this leads to the resolution of the text, where it employs metaphors of massive, unavoidable planetary mechanics to hammer home its point about impermanence.
Planetary mechanics.
Yeah, listen to this rhythm. The storm will not last forever. The night will end. The tears will dry. And the morning will come.
So what does this all mean for the weary listener?
Well, think about being on a boat in a squall.
Okay.
When you're in the middle of it, the storm feels like the entire world. But weather systems always move. The text is a reminder from someone looking at the radar, promising that the edge of the storm is approaching.
Right. When you are in the middle of a depressive episode or a period of profound grief, it feels like the current darkness is a permanent state of the universe.
It feels like the sun has literally been extinguished.
But weather systems, no matter how violent, are governed by atmospheric pressures larger than the storm itself.
The brilliance of using the transition from night to morning as a metaphor is that it requires absolutely zero effort from the observer.
You don't have to make the morning come.
Exactly. The rotation of the Earth on its axis is guaranteed. You do not have to perform any action to make the sun rise. Your only responsibility is to survive the night.
It is a profound psychological unburdening.
It really is.
The end of your suffering is inevitable, not because you earned it, but because the system is designed to keep moving.
And the text closes by establishing the ultimate unconditional tether. It says, because I am not finished with you yet, I am still with you. And no matter how far you feel you have fallen, my love will always reach you.
No matter how far you feel you have fallen, that line neutralizes the final weapon of the inner critic.
Shame.
Shame is so heavy.
Exhaustion is often compounded by the belief that our current state is our own fault. I chose the wrong career, or I pushed the wrong people away.
I failed the test. Exactly. The text explicitly states that the reach of this protective presence is not limited by your merit, your choices, or the depth of your failure.
Which is pretty much the absolute antithesis of almost every system we operate within.
Completely. Capitalism, social hierarchies, academic institutions, they all require you to climb up to attain worth, safety, or rest.
They're always climbing.
This text posits a reality where safety reaches down to you. It meets you exactly where you are, even if where you are is the absolute bottom of a pit you dug yourself.
It acts as an anchor, bringing the narrative full circle.
Yeah.
The text began by acknowledging the crisis of the battles no one knows about. It ends by answering that crisis.
The battle is known.
The exhaustion is seen, the presence is permanent, and the morning is inevitable.
We have covered a massive amount of psychological ground today.
We really have.
We started by validating the invisible exhaustion, dissecting the heavy allostatic load of the smile in front of everyone. We wrestled with the crisis of meaning, using retrospective reappraisal to redefine mere survival as empirical evidence of unseen strength.
The scaffolding.
Yes, the scaffolding.
Yeah.
We tackled the agony of delays, using the immune system metaphor to reframe closed doors as preemptive protection.
Burning out the fever.
Exactly. We explored the neurological relief of cognitive offloading, grounding the body with a single breath and focusing only on the micro movement of the next step. And finally, we looked at the geography of time, the guarantee of impermanence, and the unearned unconditional tether that holds us when we collapse.
It is a remarkable progression from profound weariness to absolute psychological security.
It really is.
But, the true value of any deep dive is how it alters your perception of the real world.
Definitely.
So I want to leave you, the listener, with a final lingering thought to mull over, building on the text's assertion that I am still writing your story.
Okay.
In narrative therapy, we understand that a story is defined by its ending. The text promises that the chapter you are living through today, with all its friction, delay, and hidden battles, is just the messy middle of a story that is guaranteed to end in your ultimate protection and triumph.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could somehow bypass your brain's evolutionary panic and accept that guarantee as objective reality, how would that fundamentally change the way you walk out of your front door tomorrow morning?
What an incredible prompt to carry with us.
Yeah.
Let's leave that heavy backpack of anticipatory anxiety by the door just a little bit longer.
Just for a bit.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We wish you genuine rest, physiological peace, and the courage to take just the very next step.